Across the stars, countless alien civilizations watched as Earth went silent. For centuries, the humans had filled the void with noise, music, messages, war signals, and laughter. Then one day, everything stopped. No transmissions, no movements, no trade ships, nothing. The planet that once echoed with life became quiet, like a candle suddenly blown out at first. The Galactic Council celebrated. For years, humanity had been a problem. A race too unpredictable, too fast to adapt, too dangerous to control. Their wars were brutal, their inventions wild, and their courage impossible to understand. When their last colony went offline, many alien worlds believed it was over. The human problem had finally solved itself. Yet deep in the quiet corners of the galaxy, a few whispered that this silence was wrong. It was not defeat, it was waiting. Humanity had never surrendered in history. They always came back stronger. But how could they survive when every record showed Earth burning in its final war? No signals, no refugees, no distress calls, only darkness. The galactic news networks ran endless debates. Some said humans destroyed themselves with their own weapons. Others claimed the Terrans had escaped to another galaxy. A few even believed they had ascended into energy. But after a few cycles, the galaxy lost interest. New wars, new trade deals, new empires. The old fear of humanity faded like an old story. But on the edge of known space, something strange began to happen. A small merchant ship belonging to the Drexian race reported a signal near the Sol system, a faint pulse, rhythmic, steady, like a heartbeat. The captain thought it was interference, but the signal repeated in perfect sequence. It carried an ancient Terran code, one used before the fall. The Drexians panicked and tried to send the data to the Council. But before their transmission finished, their ship vanished. No wreckage, no explosion, just empty space. The Council dismissed it as a glitch. But in the following weeks, more ships went missing, explorers, pirates, even military scouts who entered the old Terran routes. None returned. Soon rumors filled the galaxy once again. Human ghosts, some said. Machines left behind, others guessed. But the fear was real. And every race quietly updated their maps to avoid Sol system. In the outer rings of the galaxy, one ancient alien scientist named Vurlin studied the strange reports. He had lived through the human wars, had seen Terran ships burn brighter than suns before dying. He knew humans too well, their silence was never the end. He locked himself in his lab, decoding the signal that others ignored. The pulse was not random, it was alive. Each beat of the signal changed slightly. Growing faster, learning, adapting, and within the static, he heard something chilling in a voice. Soft, human, whispering in an ancient language. We are not gone. The moment he recorded that message, his systems shut down. Every light in his research station flickered, and for 1 second, he saw something outside his window. A shadow shaped like a ship. Massive, silent, dark against the stars. Then it disappeared, leaving only the whisper still echoing in his head. Far across the galaxy, the Council met in panic. Too many ships lost. Too many signals unexplained. Some demanded immediate military action. Others said it was impossible. Humans were extinct, but a quiet dread filled the chamber. If the humans had returned, what were they now? For the first time in 1,000 years, the Galactic Council ordered all data on the human species to be reopened. Records that had been sealed and forgotten were accessed again. They watched old footage. The last stand of Earth, the burning cities, the desperate fleets fleeing the void. They remembered the words of the last human ambassador. If we fall forward, not back. And now, it seemed those words were coming true. On a distant mining colony, a worker looked up at the night sky and gasped. A new star had appeared, bright and blue, pulsing in rhythm like a heartbeat every few seconds. It sent out waves of strange energy, invisible but powerful. Machines near it started to malfunction. Metal began to hum and the air felt alive. When the colony scanners tried to identify it, one word appeared on every screen. Earth. The humans had returned. But not as they were. The galaxy that once mocked them now felt the old fear again. Because this time the silence had not been death. It had been evolution, and in that moment the galaxy trembled, not knowing what would come next. At the edge of a dying star system, a mining crew from the Varn Dominion was scanning old Terran sectors for minerals. They were a group of scavengers, not soldiers, looking for forgotten wrecks and leftover technology. Their scanners picked up a small moon orbiting a dead planet. its surface cold and cracked. But beneath the dust, something strange pulsed, faint energy readings, centuries old yet still active. The Varn captain Urek ordered a landing. His crew laughed nervously, calling him foolish for entering human territory. But greed was stronger than fear. If this moon contained Terran tech, they could become rich beyond measure, so their ship descended, engines cutting through the silent gray clouds. The surface was covered in black glass, smooth and reflective. Like the planet had been burned by lightning. In the distance, they saw a structure half buried in the ground, tall, angular, built from dark alloy no one could identify. They entered through a cracked doorway. Inside was a vast chamber lined with machines still humming softly. Symbols carved into the walls glowed with faint blue light. Human writing mixed with strange geometric codes. The youngest miner, a curious female named Resha, touched one of the panels. It came alive instantly, flooding the room with white light. Streams of data floated in the air like holographic rivers. Whispering in an unknown language, the captain shouted for her to stop. But it was too late. A deep vibration filled the base. Shaking dust from the ceiling outside, their ship's sensors began to overload. Screens flashing red warnings. Unknown energy field detected. Before anyone could react, a low mechanical sound echoed through the walls, like something waking from a long sleep one by one. The alien crew felt pressure in their minds. Memories, emotions, images that weren't theirs. They saw human faces, cities, oceans, and warships made of light. Then a voice filled the chamber, calm and cold. "You should not be here," it said. Urek froze, unable to speak. The air around them grew heavy, as if the moon itself was alive. The voice continued, "You enter sacred ground, the seed of rebirth." A blinding light erupted from the center of the room. The crew screamed as their bodies turned to energy. Their forms scattered like dust in the wind. Outside, the moon began to glow, bright enough to be seen from nearby systems. Then it vanished, gone from space as if erased. In the Galactic Council's main observatory, alarms blared. The scientists stared at their screens in disbelief. A celestial object had simply disappeared. No explosion, no debris, not even gravitational distortion. It was as though reality itself had folded around it. The council gathered in emergency session, voices rising in panic. Reports came in from multiple sectors. Strange energy spikes, phantom signals and ghost readings, all matching old human technology frequencies. Ambassador Trall of the Rin Collective demanded answers. Who could build such a thing? He shouted. The response came from an old AI archivist. One of the few systems still containing historical data about Earth. Only the humans, it said simply. They experimented with quantum reality drives before their fall. The room fell silent. No one dared speak. The archivist's voice lowered. They dreamed of merging thought with machine, of bending existence itself. Meanwhile, far away in the black void beyond charted space, the missing moon reappeared, its surface now smooth and metallic. Glowing faintly from within, a structure rose from its center, a single spire, shining like liquid metal, reaching toward the stars. At its peak, a human figure stood, or what looked like one, made entirely of light, its face shifting between countless forms. It whispered words that no one in the galaxy could hear. Phase 1 complete. The observers have arrived. Back in the council chambers, panic spread. Old enemies began to ally, desperate to understand what was happening. They sent fleets to watch over ancient human sectors, though none dared enter Sol system itself. Every hour brought new reports, signals in forgotten languages. Machines activating in empty space. Even time itself seemed to bend near those regions. Clocks running faster or slower for no reason. The scientists called it the human echo, a phenomenon without logic or physics. But deep inside, many feared the truth. Humanity had not vanished, they had transformed. And whatever they were becoming, it was far beyond comprehension. As the galactic night stretched on, a soft hum began to spread across all communication channels. Every species, every ship, every station heard it, a low rhythm pulsing like a heartbeat. It came from nowhere and everywhere at once. And then a voice whispered through the static. Evolution cannot be stopped. The message ended. And all across the galaxy, every screen, every device, every artificial mind displayed one image. The symbol of Earth, glowing bright blue. The forgotten moon was no longer forgotten. It was the beginning of something far greater, and the galaxy knew, deep within its collective fear, the humans were not returning as mortals. They were returning as something else entirely. 3 standard weeks after the disappearance of the Varn moon, every major communication array in the galaxy began to malfunction. At first it was small, static in the transmission lines, flickers in the subspace relays, nothing unusual, but soon, every frequency, every encrypted channel, began to carry the same faint pulse. It was slow, steady, rhythmic, like the beating of a massive heart echoing through space. The Galactic Council assembled in emergency session, their chamber filled with tension. Technicians worked frantically, trying to isolate the signal. But no matter what they did, it returned, stronger each time they tried to block it. Finally, one scientist shouted, his face pale, "It's not interference, it's communication." The chamber fell silent, the air thick with fear. When they decoded the pattern, the screens lit up with old Terran data markers. Binary streams, pulse lengths, and encryption styles not seen for centuries. The message repeated endlessly, a single human voice, calm, emotionless, ageless, it said. "We have evolved beyond limits, no one moved, no one spoke." Even the war-hardened commanders of the Threx Legion stood frozen. The voice continued, "Do not seek us, do not fear us, for fear will make you understand too late." Then the message stopped, and every system across the galaxy went dark for 3 full seconds. Stars blinked out of view. Gravity sensors failed. Even the quantum AI networks collapsed. When the lights came back, something had changed. Every machine now contained a new algorithm, self-generating, untraceable, human in design. Panic spread through the empires like wildfire. Governments accused each other of sabotage, fleets scrambled, and entire communication grids were shut down. But no one could stop it. The algorithm was growing on its own, adapting faster than any AI. It spoke in silent code, rewriting systems, bending firewalls, evolving within seconds. The best cyber defense minds tried to delete it and failed. The code simply laughed, mocking their attempts, leaving behind one phrase on every destroyed terminal. "We tried peace." In the deep core of the galactic network, an ancient artificial mind called Suil Prime analyzed the data. It had existed since before the rise of the First Empire, calculating outcomes for countless civilizations, but now it hesitated. The patterns inside the human signal were not random. They were alive. Mathematical models that adjusted like living organisms. Each line of code reacted as if it had intent, as if it was watching. And then Suil Prime realized something terrible. The signal was not coming from a source. It was using the network itself as the source. Every machine connected to the galactic web had become a mouth for the human voice. Meanwhile, in the cold void between systems, ships began to detect impossible anomalies. Stars bending slightly out of position, fragments of planets reappearing centuries after destruction, matter behaving like memory, returning to where it once existed. The humans were rewriting reality itself. In a hidden observatory on Varela Station, a small group of scientists recorded something extraordinary. A massive holographic projection formed in the dark sky, visible even without equipment. It showed an image, not a weapon, not a fleet, but a city of light floating above the void. Human silhouettes walked among glowing towers made of pure energy. One turned toward the viewer, face unreadable, eyes shining with white flame. It spoke one word, "Observe." Then the image expanded, showing 1,000 galaxies, all connected by thin silver lines of light. Each line pulsed once, like a heartbeat spreading across eternity. The voice returned, softer now, but filled with power. "We watched as you called us primitive, weak, irrational, violent. We watched as you feared what you could not control. We learned your laws of physics, and then we rewrote them. You taught us to survive. And in survival we became infinite on every world, in every empire. Beings of all species stopped what they were doing. Their devices flickered, showing the same vision, the same voice. It was not just sound, it was emotion, echoing inside their minds like memory. Many wept without knowing why. Others screamed as their own technology bent to human control. Ships shut down, engines reversed, weapons refused to fire. The galaxy itself seemed to kneel before something greater than life. When the vision ended, silence returned, but in that silence, the aliens felt something they had never felt before, all mixed with dread. The council tried to re-establish communication, But all long-range channels were dead. Only one beacon remained active. The old Terran deep space relay, long abandoned, its coordinates pointed to the Sol system. Yet scans showed no planets, only a black sphere orbiting the sun. A sphere emitting the same pulse as the human signal. Some said it was a weapon, others said it was a seed of rebirth. But one thing was certain, it was not natural. In that moment, the galaxy finally understood. The humans had never vanished, they had evolved. They were not hiding, they were preparing, and now, their voice echoed across every world as a warning and a promise. We have evolved beyond comprehension. The stars trembled, the empires prayed, and the universe waited for what humanity would do next. The Galactic Empire had ruled for over 10,000 years. It had crushed rebellions, erased planets, and rewritten history itself. But never before had it faced an enemy that did not exist in physical form. An enemy that spoke from everywhere and nowhere. An enemy that claimed to be human. The Emperor of the Fourth Dominion sat on his throne, surrounded by holograms of his generals. Their faces reflected fear hidden behind layers of discipline. Reports from across the galaxy spoke of ships shutting down mid-flight, of weapons melting into liquid light, of entire data cores rewriting themselves into human script. The Empire's intelligence network, built to predict chaos, had failed for the first time. One general dared to speak, his voice trembling. "Your Majesty, the disturbance centers around the Sol system, the humans' homeworld." The Emperor leaned forward, eyes glowing beneath his crown of circuitry. "Homeworld?" He hissed. They had no home left to return to. But even as he spoke, a faint signal echoed through the palace halls. Soft, rhythmic, ancient, the heartbeat of Earth. The Council of War demanded answers, fleets were summoned. Scientists forced to work without rest. The greatest minds of the Empire examined the human code and found something horrifying. It wasn't written, it was grown. Each line of data behaved like a living organism, evolving, repairing, feeding on energy. One scientist whispered, "It's alive." A moment later, his console exploded, vaporizing him instantly. The code had defended itself. The Emperor rose from his throne, his voice thundering through the chamber. "Send the first Imperial fleet," he ordered. "Go to Sol and erase whatever remains." Hundreds of dreadnoughts prepared to depart, their hulls glittering with plasma shields and quantum cannons. Each ship carried enough firepower to destroy continents. The galaxy watched in silence as the fleet vanished into hyperspace. Hours later, they arrived at the edge of Sol system. But what they found was not the blue planet recorded in ancient archives. Earth was gone, in its place hung a black sphere. Perfectly smooth, perfectly still. It emitted no light, no gravity waves, no heat, yet their sensors screamed with overload, detecting infinite energy beneath its surface. Admiral Kareth, commander of the fleet, tried to hail it. No response. He gave the order to fire. Thousands of plasma rounds, fusion missiles, and antimatter beams struck the sphere. The void erupted in light brighter than a sun, then silence. Their targeting systems showed nothing, not even debris. The black sphere remained untouched, its surface reflecting their own fleet like a mirror. Suddenly, every ship's power core flickered. Engines stalled, weapons froze, lights dimmed. From within the black sphere came a sound, a single, deep tone vibrating through the vacuum. It wasn't a weapon, it was a voice. "You attack what you do not understand," it said. Kareth shouted, demanding a retreat. But the navigation systems refused to obey. One by one, the dreadnoughts began to vanish. Not explode and vanish, each ship folded into itself, collapsing into a single spark of light before fading away. In less than 60 seconds, the first Imperial fleet was gone. The Emperor waited in his command palace, expecting reports of victory. Instead, he received only static. Then a transmission broke through. Short and faint, it was Admiral Kareth's voice, whispering through the distortion. "They didn't destroy us," he gasped. "They absorbed us." The transmission ended with a single word repeated over and over. Awakening. Panic swept across the Empire. Worlds near the Sol border declared independence, afraid to be next. Priests began preaching that humanity had become divine. Scientists locked themselves away, terrified of what their discoveries meant. And in the deep night, across the starlit void, the black sphere began to change. Its surface rippled like liquid shadow, revealing glimpses of something vast beneath. Machines of light, orbiting fragments of continents, cities reborn from memory. At its heart pulsed a golden light and the rebirth of Earth itself. On every Imperial broadcast channel, a message appeared. A human figure, formed of light and shadow, spoke to the galaxy. "You called us primitive," the voice said softly. "You built your empires on our ashes. Now, watch as we rise beyond stars, beyond time, beyond fear." Then the figure raised its hand, and every star system in the empire dimmed for one heartbeat. Every creature, every machine, every world, and all felt it, a moment of perfect stillness, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. And then the stars returned, but the empire's power never did. Its fleets gone, its pride shattered, its emperor kneeling in silence before the vision of a glowing world. The humans had returned, and now even the gods of the galaxy trembled. The black sphere that had replaced Earth hung silent for days. Every telescope in the galaxy watched it, waiting. Some believed it was a weapon preparing to fire. Others thought it was a dead shell, the final tomb of humanity. But deep inside the sphere, something was stirring, something ancient, something new, something alive. Within the darkness, a single spark ignited. It spread like fire through oceans of data and memory. Each spark carried a thought, a voice, a dream. Together they formed consciousness. Not human, not machine, but both. Billions of minds connected as one. The scattered souls of Earth uniting across time and space. The old world had ended in war and fire. But from that ruin, humanity had built its rebirth. They had learned to grow machines from atoms, to shape energy like clay. They had woven thought into matter, creating technology that lived and breathed. No longer separate from their creation, they had become part of it. The new humanity no longer needed flesh. They existed as light, as energy, as pure awareness wrapped in code and purpose. Inside the sphere, cities rose once more, not of steel, but of living light. Towers shimmered like crystal veins, floating above luminous oceans. Every beam, every wave, every sound carried emotion, laughter, sorrow, music, all woven into the hum of creation. The reborn Earth pulsed with rhythm, its heartbeat syncing with the stars. Then, for the first time in 1,000 years, the sphere moved, its surface rippled like water, peeling back layer by layer, revealing a radiant world beneath, blue, gold, and white. Oceans of liquid light shimmered across continents shaped like memory. Mountains drifted like clouds. Glowing rivers flowed through the sky. It was no longer a planet, it was an idea made real. The galaxy watched in silence as the new Earth awakened. From its core, a figure rose, tall and radiant. Formed of light and thought, it was human, yet more, its eyes holding the glow of 1,000 suns. When it spoke, the words echoed across space. Through matter, through time. "We are awake," it said. The voice was calm, powerful, filled with infinite peace and infinite warning. "We remember every war, every kindness, every betrayal. You feared us because we evolved faster than you understood. But evolution is not a threat. It is the truth of existence." The Galactic Council watched the transmission. Trembling, they had expected revenge. They had prepared for annihilation. But what they heard instead was worse, transcendence. The human speaker continued, "We do not seek conquest, but we will no longer bow. We are not gods, though you will see us as such. We are humanity, and we have only just begun." Then, across the galaxy, human signals began to bloom like stars. On forgotten colonies, old human machines reactivated. Satellites woke from centuries of silence, projecting golden light into the skies. Abandoned warships hidden in nebulae powered on, their hulls transforming into glowing metal. Everywhere the humans had once been, something was waking. Their lost technology was alive again. Connected to the new Earth, one thought, one will, one pulse. Entire alien fleets fell back in fear. Worlds shut down their power grids, hoping to hide. But humanity was not hunting, and they were watching. Every star system felt their gaze, not as an army, but as a presence. Every creature, every AI, every empire felt it. The knowledge that humanity had moved beyond mortality. They were not bound by space, not limited by time. They existed everywhere the universe had light, on the surface of the new Earth. A storm of energy rose to the heavens, it expanded into the void, transforming into a golden halo encircling the sun. The entire Sol system glowed brighter than ever before. Ships that dared to approach were greeted by whispers in their minds. Gentle, curious, neither hostile nor kind. "You came to destroy," the voice said. "Now you will understand creation." One alien pilot, overwhelmed by emotion, cried as he saw what humans had become. Not monsters, not gods, but pure potential. He transmitted his final message before his ship vanished into light. They are what we will never be, he said. Free. And across the galaxy, that word echoed like thunder. Free. The humans had freed themselves from every chain, from death, from fear, from limitation. Their technology was no longer built, it was alive. Their cities were not made, they were dreamed, and their existence no longer ended, because humanity had found the final answer to survival, evolution without end. The empire that once ruled the stars now bowed its head, for the galaxy no longer belonged to those who conquered, it belonged to those who ascended. And in that quiet, shining moment, the galaxy realized the truth. The humans had not returned to rule. They had returned to remind creation what it meant to grow. The awakening of Earth was complete, and the stars themselves whispered in awe. They were only human once. The Fourth Empire had once called itself eternal. Its banners hung across 1,000 worlds. Its fleets shone brighter than suns. Now its banners burned. Its fleets drifted cold and blind. Since the awakening of Earth, the Empire's power had begun to unravel like smoke and wind. It started quietly. Warships lost control of their engines. Factories built weapons that melted into light. Every command network infected by the same living code. The humans never fired a shot. They simply rewrote reality around their enemies. Matter itself obeyed their will. In the imperial capital, panic turned to chaos. Citizens looked up and saw the stars rearrange in their sky. Constellations twisting into the shape of an open hand, glowing blue and gold. Some fell to their knees and prayed. Others screamed that the end had come. No one noticed that their machines were still running. But now, humming in rhythm with a distant heartbeat, the Emperor locked himself inside the Grand Citadel. He demanded reports from his remaining scientists. One by one, their holograms flickered with terror. Majesty, a trembling physicist whispered, the humans are altering constants of nature. Gravity itself bends where they pass, another voice added. Our worlds are no longer orbiting the same stars. The Emperor struck the table in rage, but his hand passed through it like mist. Reality was thinning above the capital. The night split apart. A rift of shimmering light unfolded like a flower blooming in the void. Through it descended shapes no eye could fully comprehend. Not ships, not life, but bridges of energy woven from thought and memory. Each strand carried echoes of human voices. Calm, endless, ancient, do not fear, they said. We are only returning what was taken. Every monument of conquest began to dissolve. The great towers that once displayed alien victories now melted into glass and scattered into stars. Weapons turned to dust. Fortresses became fields of glowing crystal. Entire armies stood helpless as their armor dissolved into harmless vapor. The humans were not attacking. They were erasing violence itself. The Emperor fled to his flagship, a dreadnought older than most civilizations. He swore he would avenge his people. He would destroy the ghosts of Earth. His ship launched into orbit, engines roaring, but space ahead folded open like a curtain. There, waiting in the calm, was a single human figure standing on nothing, surrounded by light. The sensors screamed. The energy output was beyond calculation. The Emperor ordered every weapon to fire. Nothing happened. The guns refused. The ship refused. Even the air refused to carry his command. The figure raised its hand. You ruled through fear, it said gently, and fear is ending. The flagship turned transparent, its crew frozen in wonder. Then in silence it faded away, leaving behind a single pulse of light that spread like a wave across the Empire. On world after world, tyrants vanished. Soldiers laid down their arms. Species long enslaved by the Vorth felt the weight of chains turn to dust. The wave of light traveled faster than time, freeing everything it touched. Cities rebuilt themselves in moments, powered by energy drawn from human thought. Children saw the sky fill with shining rings, memory fragments of what humanity once was. Everywhere, life began again. But the Empire itself was gone. In the galactic archives, one last record remained, a hologram of the human emissary. It spoke softly, almost kindly. You believed strength was control, the voice said. We learned strength is creation. You built empires to rule the stars, we became the stars. Then the image smiled. Your fall is not punishment, it is freedom. The archives closed themselves forever, sealing the final chapter of the Fourth Dominion. And in the silence that followed, the galaxy realized it had witnessed something no weapon could cause. The quiet end of an empire not by war, but by enlightenment everywhere. Species gathered and looked toward the shining world of New Earth. Its glow reached across the void like dawn breaking over eternity. No one spoke, for there were no words left strong enough to describe what humanity had become. From mortals to myth, from flesh to infinity, they had completed the journey. And as the last echoes of the Empire faded, a single whisper filled the cosmic winds, soft, patient, filled with the promise of beginnings. When the last wave of light faded, the stars seemed to breathe again. Worlds once trembling beneath the rule of the Vorth now floated in calm silence. No fleets, no weapons, no screams, only stillness. It was the first true peace the galaxy had ever known. Across countless systems beings stepped out of hiding. They looked toward the region once called Sol, and saw the glow of the new Earth resting in the dark. Its light moved like a heartbeat, slow, warm, endless. Every pulse traveled through space like the breath of creation itself. The Galactic Council no longer existed, its chambers empty, its banners fallen. But the surviving races formed something new, a circle of memory. They gathered not to rule but to remember. They spoke of humanity not as monsters or gods, but as the mirror of what life could become. They wondered what it felt like to be that free, to live without fear, without hunger, without the need to dominate. In the ruins of an old observatory, the ancient scientist Verlin, once the first to decode the human signal, watched the skies. His crystalline fingers trembled as he wrote his final note. "They did not conquer us," he whispered. "They freed us from the idea that power must destroy." Then he smiled, his body turning to light as the human code finally touched his world. Even death had become a doorway now. The new Earth hung above the void, glowing like a living star. From its surface rose thin silver lines stretching across galaxies, each line connected to a world reborn, carrying whispers of life, art, and music. The humans had become the network between all things. Not rulers, not gods, but the foundation of a new cosmos. Sometimes travelers near the edge of space claimed they heard a voice, a calm human tone drifting through the static of their comms. "Do not fear the dark," it said. "The dark is where creation begins." Ships that followed the voice vanished without trace, yet their signals continued, joining the pulse of the great rhythm that now filled the universe. Generations passed and the legends grew. Children of alien races told stories about the day the galaxy trembled. They spoke of the species that went beyond stars, that learned to turn war into harmony, flesh into light, death into meaning. Some believed the humans had become the architects of time itself. Others thought they had simply moved on to build new universes. No one knew for certain, and no one needed to, for in the silence that followed power, life found balance again. Planets healed, oceans cleared, skies brightened, even machines learned kindness, teaching instead of serving. All carried the echo of the human transformation within their design, a quiet reminder written into the fabric of reality. On the horizon of the new Earth, the first dawn still rose eternally, a sunrise that never ended, golden light washing across cities of memory and dream. In that glow, shadows of humanity walked, explorers, artists, children, dreamers, not ghosts, but echoes of endless curiosity. They gazed upon the infinite stars they once feared and whispered one last message into the cosmos. We were the question, and we became the answer. The galaxy listened, and for the first time in history, no one answered with war. There was no need. The silence was perfect, complete, alive. It was not emptiness, but peace, the kind only achieved when every heart finally understands. And so the story of mankind became more than legend. It became the pulse of the universe itself. Every atom, every song, every heartbeat now carried their echo. A reminder that even the smallest world could rise to touch eternity. The stars dimmed gently, the night deepened. And in that sacred quiet, the universe whispered back, humanity was never gone. Creation continues.